Yo, what is up, Team Rosine 24V? We are here with another video for you today. Now this one we were talking about doing, and so we're gonna squeeze it in today before the baby shower. That's why.
That's right.
In a dress.
That's right. That's what we're doing. We're squeezing it in.
So yeah, we're gonna show you what to look for when you're shopping for a second gen specifically, but you can apply this obviously to any truck or vehicle.
Here's what we're gonna do. She's all like big and pregnant and like 6-7 weeks away from having a baby and stuff, so I do all the crawling around apparently. So here's what we're gonna do. We're gonna go over the key things to look for when buying a second gen. Now, I've seen videos on what to look for in buying a diesel truck, what to look for when buying a Dodge Cummins, stuff like that, but most of those videos are very, very, very much the same, and they're talking about look for a blow-by and certain engine sounds and just certain things on the drivability and stuff like that, which is important, because if you buy a $10,000 truck and your engine's garbage once you get home and you realize it and it's about to be worthless in 20,000 miles, you're just going to be out a bunch of money that you can't get back. But what we're going to go over is things that are specific to second-gen Dodge trucks, because there's stuff that happens with these trucks that doesn't happen with a lot of the Dodge stuff, a lot of the Ram stuff, but second gens are notorious for it, and a lot of people don't even realize this is happening to their truck, and they own it and they just look at the body lines, because that's what Grandpa said, is I'll look at the body lines, make sure everything looks straight and make sure everything looks legit, like it wasn't swapped around and stuff like that. Which, if you ask me, I could care less about the body lines. And if somebody put a look at the birds. Oh no, you're like pecking that bird to death. Anyways, oh my gosh, it must be like the bird rut. There's like 5 male sparrows and 1 female defending herself. Should we help her? Here. Leave her alone, you jerk. There we go. Okay, so now that we just saved a life, let's get to this truck. Now, like I said, the body to me, as long as the body isn't rotted to pieces and it's salvageable, like rockers and lower parts of the door, stuff like that, don't worry about the body unless like that's the most important thing to you. Because as Reagan and I have seen, we've looked at trucks that are rust-free bodies. You get there, frame is complete Swiss cheese, it's garbage, it's trash. I'll share those photos with you, Reagan, so you can put them in here if you want. But they're just basically the photos that we found on trucks that had rust-free bodies, but were just trashed underneath. So let's get to it. The first thing I'm going to tell you guys about, and she can pretty much show you what I'm talking about without having to get down there. Front end of the frame, it's right above where right below where the bumper bracket mounts up on the driver's side, and right next to the steering pump. And I can show them with the camera real quick so I can show what I'm talking about. Now in her truck, it's in really good shape, but ordinarily these trucks rot out right here. Like if there's no rust anywhere else in the frame, this place will still be all rotted out. You'll have holes and it'll just be Swiss cheese. And I'll give Reagan the opportunity to pop up a picture right here. That is exactly what it will look like if it's rusted out and bad. Just look out for that. Very notorious for rusting out there. Now, the passenger side can do that, but I have yet to find one that's done that on the passenger side. For some reason, it's always the driver's side, but of course it could happen, so just check. Another thing that these trucks are notorious for having rot out, believe it or not, if you come over here, Reagan, right here on this truck, this one's fine, but for some reason behind this bracket here, this area is known to just rot to pieces. I had that happen on a second gen that I bought. It was my first second gen. Huge hole. I mean, you could put, if you had your hand like this, you go straight in through the frame. Like it was that bad right in here, and somebody had puttied it all up and stuff. So another tip, knock on the frame and make sure it feels like metal if it's all coated up. Like if it's got like a rubberized barrier between the metal and your knuckles tapping on the frame, I wouldn't mess with it. Paint's different, but it's rubberized, I would be very skeptical, and I would really thoroughly check that frame out. Some guys just coat them and they're not rusted, but there's a lot of kids or younger guys or just shady people that will just cover crap up if they're trying to unload it on you because they found out some stuff about their truck they didn't want to. Check for that area as well. Another thing, actually I'll mention while I'm here, is your coil. I want to call them a dish, but that's not really what, they're not called a dish, but where your coils sit, these trays, your coil tray, I guess you could say, that the coil sits in right down there, those are notorious for rotting out. Why is that such a big deal? Well, if that rots out completely all the way around, there's nowhere for your coil to sit. You're gonna get some funky vibrations and feelings in the frame up there, like in your suspension, that's not gonna be so nice. and that can cause a big problem down the road. And the problem with that is it's welded to the axle, so you can have them replaced. Guys will grind them down, cut them, and replace them, but it's not fun. Another area to look for is under the rear end of the truck, basically straight above the axle, and I'll show them with your camera here what I'm talking about. So there's these cross members right here, goes over basically over the fuel tank and all that jazz, over your muffler if you have a muffler, stuff like that, and they're just known to rot out. Same with this bracket here, and I think that's the only one that I'm talking about here, but they are just so notorious for rusting to pieces. Now look for stuff like this, like a frame number, stuff like that. You can very, very clearly see that. That's good. Look for your cab mounts. These all along here. It's not like the most important part, but if these cab mounts are destroyed and it's starting to eat into the floorboard and the cab itself, I'm saying, then you're starting to run into a problem. But just check for the cab mounts themselves and this portion of the frame that they sit on, just because you don't want to run into those issues, because that's not any fun when you've got a problem that's going to be a lot of work, a lot of time, and a lot of stress. Now, of course, these trucks, you're fine. They're not going to all be perfect, but we're just trying to point out the main things that are like you want to look for these. Coming around the back, there's not really too much with the rear portion of the frame that I'd be super concerned about, other than the fuel tank, which is, again, more like above the axle and just under the very, very back of the cab, like under the bed mostly. But I'll come over here and I'll show you what I'm talking about with the fuel tank. On the driver's side, basically in front of the rear tire on the driver's side, but behind the driver's door, basically behind the driver's side door, all the way back to the rear axle. And we're going to be talking about your fuel tank area. So this area is notorious for rotting out. Her truck's got a little bit of surface rust starting on it, which really is not that bad. But what you want to look for is freaking this whole portion right here, all the way back. Salt and dirt get back behind here, can't wash it out. It sits there, rots it right out through the frame there. And why that's so important is because this is weight bearing. The top and the bottom of your frame are the most important part. So if there's like a little hole here on the side, that could probably be saved. But the problem is if it's here, that's structural. That's like part of the weight bearing portion of the frame, where if you're towing, you have a gooseneck or whatever, and all that weight's down on it, top and bottom is where most of the strain and stress is going to be on your frame. So you really just got to watch out for that. Don't buy a truck if this is all rotted out and gone, because it's just not going to be pretty.
Some other things to look out for. This is a 12 valve, but for instance, if this was a 98 to an 02,
98 and a half mostly.
98 and a half to an 02, and it was a 24 valve. You can look to see if it has a 53 block, and how you're going to be able to find is basically you're going to have to get under the truck, and then on the passenger side is where, you know, a big stamp that's going to say 53 if it is.
It's right below the oil recycling tube that like feeds the oil back down into the oil pan. It's in front of the front axle on the passenger side, basically directly below your turbo. There's actually an oil drain line that goes from your turbo down to this little fitting that goes into the bottom of the block, and it's right next to that is where you'd be able to see if it's a 53 block. It's actually an open spot. It's pretty open. It's like yay big. It's an open spot, and it'll just be stamped 53 in the block right there. And some 12 valves can have it too, so we actually looked at that on her truck. Pretty much like if it came anything from 98 to 02, just look for it. It's most common between 98 and a half to 01s, but anything from 98 to 02 could have them. And why is a 53 block something you kind of want to steer clear of? She owns a 53 block truck, and she's never had a problem with her truck. Like, she's never had a cracked block, she's never had anything, whatever. And it's at like 270,000 miles now. So you can buy them, and if you're not hot rodding them out and stuff, and you don't have to for that to happen, but you should mostly be fine. But they're just known to be a little bit on the weaker side with thinner,
possible cracking.
Yeah, with like thinner walls of the block and crack under high pressure, versus like the non-53 block trucks are just supposedly able to handle more pressures and not crack under it. But you know, you can crack any block. If you beat on it enough, you can crack any block.
Right.
So if that's how you run your trucks, then you might not be good either way, but they're just a little more prone to it if that's the way you run your trucks.
Now, is there anything specific that they should look for in 12 valves under the hood?
Under the hood, let me show you something. We're gonna talk about blow-by. Now, her truck, we've already looked through it and we've never found any blow-by, but this is what you wanna look for. While the engine is running, I'd probably recommend you do this before you start it so you don't hit your finger on a fan, but while the engine's running, you wanna take this cap and just loosely set it there so it kind of seals itself off, but just loosely set it there. If you want to make sure it's not threading in to hold it in place, kind of turn it left a little bit just to make sure that it's not threaded in at all. And this cap will not just shake, but it'll just kind of like pop. You see what I'm saying? Like pop, 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 just a little bit. Now if it's bad, it can get pretty aggressive, but for the most part, it'll just start to pop up a little bit, like it'll kind of like pop off like that. So that's just something to look out for. And also, for example, a truck we looked at recently with my buddy Jeshua, when the truck was running, white smoke was just puffing out of here. Now, a light haze of steam is one thing, but if it's white smoke, like puff, 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 I wouldn't buy it. I wouldn't mess with it. Now, all these trucks are gonna have a little bit of blow-by. It's a freaking 12 valve, you know what I mean? Like, it's a straight up industrial engine. So there's gonna be a little bit of it, little signs of it, but I'm talking about like the major things that are like
Right.
very obviously like not good.
Super concerning.
Yeah, super
That
concerning
you
stuff.
should be concerned about. But
Yeah.
yeah, like when you're messing with older trucks, there's going to be things that you have to decide, I guess.
Is it that important to you or not?
Right, so-
You know, like if you've got endless pockets and blowing the engine is not a big deal because you're like, I'll just buy another one because it got a perfect body. That's up to you. If you want to do that, do that. But I'm talking to most of the audience that like they've got that $6,000 to $10,000 to spend and they want to make it count and they're looking for an older truck that's reliable. This is mostly for you guys. If reliability isn't a big thing because you got all kinds of money to just keep dumping into it,
Right.
by all means, buy whatever you want. You know what I mean? Money can fix a lot of stuff with these trucks. So
Yeah.
if that's your game, then that's your game.
So hopefully that was a little bit helpful for, you know, a couple tips for you guys, like when you are looking to shop for a second gen. This truck right here, you know, I have no whatsoever concerns when we first saw it. You know, it's in such great shape and such great mileage, and it's the truck you could be winning. By the time you're watching this video, there are only 10 days left though to enter to win this truck. So go to dieselbabegear.com and get entered. All you got to do is check out with something in the store, and every $5 is 2 entries. But I'm running a discount code right now till Sunday at 11:59 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So if you check out with $50 or more and you use the discount code MOM, you get free shipping. So grab yourself a t-shirt, grab your mom a t-shirt, and get free shipping because you want all your money to count towards entries. I don't want you to have to pay for shipping. So make sure you grab that deal while you can, guys, because 10 days are only left to win this truck here, and somebody's gonna be driving it home. But overall, this is a super clean truck, and I can't wait to see who drives this truck away, my very first giveaway truck. It's gonna be super rewarding to be able to hand over the keys. So make sure you get entered while you can, guys. Please leave a big fat thumbs up if this video was helpful or if you enjoyed it. Hit that subscribe button and join the family so you make sure that you don't miss out on any future videos, and turn on your notifications so you really don't miss them. But thank you guys so much for watching today's video, and I'll catch you in the next one. Peace.
Won't you take me home? Give me with your flight. We can run away. Castle in the sky. Won't you take me home and give me wings to fly? We can be alone in the castle in the sky. We can